Right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. It is 8:15. The Just a huge thank you to Rabbi Ranan and the King David Schools and Board of Education for partnering on this. We welcome everyone to this evening. This short info session is really here to give you an idea of the plan, the itinerary for this tour to Poland for grade 11 and 12 students, and to give you an idea of what is happening, and to then give you a chance to ask any questions that you may have. We have significantly dense information booklets with all sorts of details, which we're happy to send out to everybody who is interested, sign up pages, etc., etc. And let me at the outset just make it very clear. We're running two parallel programs at the same time in the week of the 27th of April. One is our regular adults program, which we've been doing now for many, many years, I think 14 years. And parallel to that, the same dates, beginning Monday, 27th of April, we're running the special program for grade 11 and 12 students around the country. And that is what this evening's session is about. We're very happy and welcome any of the adults who would like to join the parallel adult program, but that's not what we're going to be talking about tonight, although much of what we'll be discussing will apply there as well. The first question that we were asked is, to what extent is the adult program interacting with the student program? At the moment, we are planning for a joint finale on the final day, which I'll speak about, and one or two other elements which we usually do, but having adults and students present at the same time will really make that a lot easier. So those are the issues those are the areas where we possibly could have interaction between the adults and the student programs. The student program, I'm going to start off by going through the itinerary and then open up for questions. So the student itinerary simply starts the week of the 27th. Sunday, there'll be a flight out of Johannesburg for Warsaw, and students will land in Warsaw on Monday morning, and we'll collect everybody together. The tour at the moment, the plan is to include several staff members from schools to join the program. The particular ratio, around 15 students to one staff member from the schools. The program will begin in Warsaw. And I'd like at this point in time just to highlight a couple of core design elements when I created this 13, 14 years ago that were important to me. The program that we're running was first run in this country by myself for many years. I began it, and I'll give a little bit of background. I began it as an outgrowth of a program that I ran at Sydenham Shul. I was the youth rabbi at Sydenham Shul, and I decided that it would be amazing to allow students, we're talking about even younger students, 14, 15-year-olds, to sit with Holocaust survivors and hear their stories while they was being filmed. We made everyone a DVD and gave it to the kids to pass on to their kids. And at the end of that year, many of the youth movements contacted me and said, listen, we heard about this project. Could we organize for some of the survivors to come to the end of the year youth camps? And I said, sure. And I contacted the first 4 survivors on my list. And either they were all unfortunately too well, and one of them had actually passed away. That's what galvanized me into this space. I decided that I turned to my wife and I said, listen, if we don't do something now, we aren't going to be able to experience particularly the idea of having a survivor involved, which I'll speak about a bit later. So I began this as an outgrowth, really, of working with younger students, as I said, from 13, 14, 15 years old. And what I wanted to achieve when I created this program was, first and foremost, an honest and balanced reconnection to all of the heritage and life that is our heritage. Most South African Jews come from an area which was broadly one commonwealth. Poland and Lithuania, for much of history, was actually together, governed together. And much of our heritage, our history, our values, our culture comes from that space. And we were there for about 1,000 years. And I wanted an experience that would first and foremost connect students, whoever was with us, to that reality, the incredible life and positivity there. and not allow the experience to be purely about death and the Holocaust. So every single day is divided up. The first half of each day, usually it's the first half, is around and centered at a particular life center of Jewish history and Jewish culture. We spend 3, 4, 5 hours around the life and the culture. And the way that the Nazis built things is that wherever there was a large life center of Jews just down the road, they would build a death center. And therefore, in the second half of the day, we then move on to the death center that was there. So the students, the people that come really get an incredible combination of both elements, a life element, a tremendously affirming element, as well as the Holocaust. For that reason, we already chose very carefully which Jewish life centers to go to, and then which of the adjacent camps to go to as well, making sure that we visit one of each type and really infuse people who come with a sense of the incredible richness that we have in the present tense, not just what was lost. And in some ways, what that means is that it's much more inspiring. But on the other hand, it also deepens the sense of what we've actually lost. And that's how each day is built. So the first half will be life, centered around the life center, and we'll go through every element of Jewish culture and life and history that came out of that space, from music and art and science and spirituality and Chassidut and Torah and Zionism in each center. And that will be usually the start of the day. And then the second half of the day, as I said, we'll move on to the Holocaust, final 6 years of the Jews in that area. And that's how the program is built. So going back to the first day is Warsaw. We start the Warsaw life. And then the second half, we go to Treblinka, which is the adjacent, even though it's quite far away, camp. The days are fairly packed. Poland is a huge country. And we spend a lot of time on the bus, and we really need to move it in order to not get caught in traffic on the one hand, and to get decent end times to each night. First night is probably the latest. We overnight in Lublin. Second day on Tuesday, we go to Lublin, the Life Center, and same story, massive Life Center of Jewish history. We spend the first bit over there, and then the adjacent one definitely we'll go to is Majdanek, and possibly Belzec as well, time dependent. The end of the day, we end off in center of Chassidut, which is called Lezhansk, and overnight in Rzeszów. On Wednesday, we'll start off again in the Jewish center of Tarnov, and please God, time permitting, we'll actually tour one of the survivors that I've worked with. I went for many years with that survivor to their shtetl, and it's still there as it was. And we actually tour and go through a shtetl as it was at the time. Please God, we'll have time to do that, or a part of it. And then again, and we've got Krakow. Krakow is an incredible Jewish center. We've got tons of things to look at from the Jewish Quarter. And then the second half or the end of that day, we will look at Schindler's Factory and Plaszow, which was the camp there. And then, of course, the major camp that's adjacent to Krakow is Auschwitz, which will be at early in the morning on Thursday. Auschwitz has got two components. The first one, Auschwitz I, today is a museum. And then Auschwitz II, which is the death camp known as Birkenau. We'll spend the entire day there. So Wednesday is far more life-oriented, and Thursday, the whole day is around the Holocaust, simply because of the size of Auschwitz. One of the reasons that I do these tours in the time period that we're looking at, which is after the massive tours of the March of the Living, is because those are huge. And just to give people an idea, the period that we're going in is the quiet period. In the quiet period, there'll only be about 8,000 to 10,000 visitors at Auschwitz on the day that we're there, as opposed to 50, 60, 70,000 people in and around the March of the Living. And one of the aims of this process is to make sure that the groups are far more intimate, that we're able to hear each other, and particularly, please God, all being well, also hear from a survivor. I do want to speak a little bit about this. Um, Survivors, just to do the maths, a survivor who was 9 years old at the beginning of the war in 1939 is today 95 years old. So a child survivor, a 9-year-old in 1939, is today 95 years old. They're very old and very difficult for us to get hold of, particularly survivors who speak a good English and who are able to travel and well, etc., etc. Thank God this year, 2025, when we went, we actually managed to work with a survivor. Nearly all of the survivors that we're dealing with now are child survivors. Adult survivors are more than 100 years old. And we're hoping to be able to work with a survivor again with this tour, please God, if they are well. That being said, there are absolutely no guarantees of this. We're talking about people in their 90s, and for obvious reasons, please God, we pray and hope that they're well. But there's just no way and no way to really guarantee that we'll have that privilege. If we do have that privilege, that's one of the reasons that I do these things in the way that I do them, particularly to do them with children, is to give them that opportunity to be able to engage with someone like that. That is the skeleton of the program, and the floor is now open. Ask away. Tali, go for it.
How's it? Thank you so much for putting this information evening together. I don't know if excited is the right word, but I am very excited that the possibility is happening for our kids. So I have a couple of questions. The one is, how many do you need to make this trip viable?
15.
Okay, that's encouraging. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, my eldest son, Danny, was actually fortunate to be in the last March of the Living cohort in 2019, before COVID. And I think that
Nice.
I guess one of the most wonderful things about that program is that they go to Israel afterwards. And so after the experience of being in Europe, there is that very, very visceral, affirming experience of then being in Israel and experiencing, Yom Ha'atzmaut in Israel. What kind of debriefing or other stuff do you have available for the kids on the way home? Because you're going to finish off at Auschwitz and then you leave.
Right. So I think there are a couple of things in this regard. The first thing is that we do extensive before, during, and after stuff. There's debriefing, there's preparation before, several mandatory sessions people have to come to before. There is one particular session with a Holocaust trained trauma counselor. Actually, a person's got their PhD in Holocaust trauma, and afterwards as well. I think that the question of going to Israel has been tremendously debated for a long period of time. I'm going to go to Israel afterwards, and the adults that are going on the adult tour, that is an option that we offer. I think that from the school's perspective, this is neater, so that the way that this works, and I see there's a question from Cheryl over here. This kids leave South Africa on the Sunday. They arrive in Poland on the Monday. They leave Poland on the Thursday. They're back in South Africa on the Friday. Therefore, there is no Shabbat in Poland for the kids tour, and they're back at school, for example, the next week. I think that's part of the thinking. If there are parents that wish their kids to go to Israel and the parents are coming, for example, on the adult tour, and they want the kids to come with, then they should speak to us. That is definitely something that is worthwhile to speak about. I will say that when we did Israel, we've now done it post October 7th, and it's a very different Israel experience. It's a very, very different Israel experience. Every year in Poland, weird things happen, and I'll speak about it a lot there. It's bizarre. This year, and you can speak to people who are with us, this year, when we were in Majdanek, we were there with the Mossad group, some of whom works the Persian desk, the Iran desk. And you can ask the people with me. I told them they had to put all their phones away. And we actually participated in the end of Majdanek ceremony with the Mossad people. It was very funny to see them. They were all pretending to be something else. They were all wearing brand new satchels from a particular Israeli company, and there were like 25 armed guards around them. So it was like, the guys marketing the cell phones had 25 armed guards armed to the teeth. It was funny, but it was one of the most incredible experiences. We sang Hatikva with them and then in June, and afterwards, when Israel, what happened with Iran happened, we were with people there who are on the ground. So the Israel experience is something, especially post October 7th, and now post everything that's gone on. And it's definitely something to think about. Yeah, if it's possible, definitely people should look at it. Talia.
Hi, Rabbi. Thank you very much. The trip really looks amazing. So just let me know you can hear me. Is that
perfect?
Correct?
Go for it.
Okay, so obviously I've raised this with you and Rabbi Ranan before. So I just want to double check. The dates are definitely fixed, because for the matric students, as I said, they'll be writing prelims the following week. So it's not really for them an ideal time. I mean, I have been told it is more of a focused grade 11 tour. And as the matrics haven't been offered, it's basically being offered to them. So I just want to know, the dates are definitely not going to change. Is that correct? It's fixed, just so we know.
At the moment, the answer is yes. I see okay. Cheryl's asking about going to Israel as well. The answer is, Cheryl, if there's enough people that are interested in an Israel option, then we can definitely look at that for certain. And also to Tali as well. At the moment, generally for all of our Poland tours, we do offer the option for Israel afterwards. The schools at the moment wanted to offer the Poland specifically, but we're very, very happy if there are people who want to join us afterwards in Israel for that to be a reality. If there are enough people interested, we can definitely do that. For certain. Next question. And sorry, Talia. I know I know the timing's not great. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, so while you're thinking about the questions, what we'll be doing is sending the itinerary and the sign-up links, the information form or information booklet out to everybody who's come or who's expressed interest to any of the schools. And if they, I think it's important to say there's Jewish students out there that are at other schools as well, and if they want to join, we definitely would welcome them. So let them know too. I think the Wendy's question, approximate cost, all of that detail will go out. The approximate cost is between, and this is our adult course, adult tour is $1,699. And the kids tour will be around that, in and thereabouts as well. We do have some extra stuff that we do for kids that we don't do for the adults, so it may be a bit more, but not tremendously so. I think you asked minimum size as well, which we'd responded as well. Final decision. So the way that the program works, final decision wise, is once we open for bookings, then the people who put down the deposits first, they go to the top of the queue. When we reach our minimum number and by a particular date, then the balance of the payment is due, and that guarantees your participation. There are limited spaces on this. The way that it works is we want to make sure that there is a significantly intimate space. We do not want to take 80 children on a bus, which does not really help them connect with each other intimately around these spaces. It becomes a very social reality, but we want to both have the social element as well as an intimate space with the guards and the people who are taking them through this. So we'll have smaller groups, and we are going to limit it to that. So once people have paid their full payment, then they're on the group, and if we reach our final numbers, then that will be it. I think the deposits are due by mid-Feb. I'll just have to look at the info booklet, and I think by sometime in March the final payments are due as well. Alyssa, if parents go on this tour, do they have any time that they join? They're separate? Yes. So the answer is as follows, Alyssa. We will be joining for certain. Hello, Mayazes. We've got people here who've actually come with me as adults. Nice to see you. Maybe you can why don't you unmute and let the adults know what it's like? So the answer is we will be doing some things that are joint. Right, and I see Cheryl's question. We will be doing some things that are joint. For certain, we'll be doing for certain, please God, we'll be doing a final ceremony together. There are some things that we've always included, which are elements relating to and between parents to kids. Obviously, the way that we've done it in the past is by distance. If parents are joining whose kids are there, it changes that dynamic because they will be able to do certain things with their kids that obviously will not be able to be done otherwise. We're also very mindful of the reality that if kids are in a program and a parent is nearby and certain interactions happen, that it does create a dissonance in the group where some kids have that and other kids do not. We have to be very careful with that. So the reality is that at the moment we're only looking at that final ceremony, and there are a couple of things in between which we're looking at facilitating, but there will not be a huge amount of joint stuff all the way through. Moses, want to chip in? One question I want to ask before then is just Cheryl Elos, what type of security? So we have added security to the group. I did mention earlier that we do have some extra costs for kids groups. We are far more careful with the kids groups than we are with adult groups. With adult groups, we're exceptionally careful. Kids groups, we're extra exceptionally careful. We will have an armed guard with the group everywhere they go. Most groups do not do this. The reason we do it is not because it's necessary, and people like the Mazes will tell you, they've been with me. We haven't ever experienced anything at any point in time in any tour, in any group that I've given or taken. The worst that's happened to us is one of my first tours, our bus parked in front of a statue of Mary in front of a church, and we got a fine. That's the worst that's happened to us. But that we will have an extra security guard, an armed guard with us at all times. Mazes, floor is yours.
I'm not sure what you want us to say, but we did the tour a couple of years ago, and it is honestly life-changing. Just to be there is, in fact, I'm going to tell you what one of the most moving parts for me was when we were in the Warsaw Ghetto, and we were given a tiny little third of a biscuit. And we were told this was what the rations were for the day. We were holding it in our hand. And then I dropped mine. And then I was told, that's your food for the day gone. And it's those kinds of things that just make it come so alive. It is so real. It's not like anything you can read in a book or see on a movie. It's just incredibly real. And then I don't know if we've missed a few minutes because we've struggled to get on the Zoom, if you're going to be taking Dov with you or not. But to be in the presence of a survivor, and this particular survivor.
So Dov unfortunately doesn't travel. I was with him this week. But we are, as I mentioned before, thank God we do have a survivor that we're looking at. Yep, please God. Thank you, guys. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone on the group? Okay. So far, elements just for feedback that I'm hearing from people is number 1, Israel. Number 2, dates for an alternative. Talia, maybe send me some dates for an alternative for the grade 12s that aren't able to make it, even if it's after exams at the end of the year or something like that. And all of the details, pricing, all of that in the information booklets, which we'll send along to people. Thank you for joining us. We scheduled this for 45 minutes. We start on time, as people will have noticed. To the second, we started at 8:15, and we'll definitely end on time. And that's one of the things definitely that you should tell your kids if they're going to come. We run like that. That also enables us to do incredible things because we we're actually able to utilize our time really well. Are there any other questions people have? Okay, thank you for joining us. Much appreciated. If anyone would like to contact our offices, I'm going to be putting into the chat over here our email, and you can drop them an email. It's tours@theacademy.org.za. And you can drop them an email, or you can WhatsApp us. And with any particular details, if anyone wants to chat to me privately and things that they want to raise in this forum, you're more than welcome to do so. The one thing I do want to say before people sign off is, and this is an honest appraisal for me. People who know me will know that if you speak to me about, and people have asked me this, about students who are 16, 17, or 18 years old going to Poland, I say two things, and I've been consistent in this. If there's a chance that they'll be able to be with a survivor, then I think they should go. I think it's an incredible opportunity, and it's simply not something that you can guarantee will be here next year or even this year. When a survivor is involved, I believe that it's a worthwhile decision, even for a child that is fairly young. I think many parents for themselves, many adults, many of the people that come with us as adults, verbalize a significant concern that they'll not be able to handle the rigors emotionally of this. And I think, and you can speak to anyone who's gone with me, or most people that have, the net effect of this is tremendous upliftment and inspiration, which is a bit weird to hear. But that is the net effect. The net effect of going through the life journey of each day, the life, as well as the Holocaust element, is tremendously uplifting. That's not meant to minimize the impact of it. And particularly post-October 7th, I think it's a vital exploration for younger people. And at the same time, an important part of what we've looked at post-October 7th is looking at how Jews have articulated and conceived a self-identity around this concept of anti-Semitism, how it impacts our self-identity as victims, and whether that victimhood is a good thing for us, and how we've reacted in the opposite direction by not being victims. And I think that's something that youngsters today are really having to battle with. So it's definitely going to be something we're looking at. What it means to acknowledge that we have had a tremendously difficult past of extreme persecution, which now continues, but at the same time, not allowing that to determine an identity of victimhood as the primary identity of being Jewish. And that is something that we're going to be looking at a lot. And it's another reason why post-October 7th, I think that younger kids who in the past I've definitely said, listen, the only reason they should go is because there's a survivor there. Today, I think there is a world of exposure that they've been exposed to that pre-2023 kids were not exposed to. And I think it's a worthwhile idea. If anyone's got anything else they want to chat with me about, please do so. You've got our email over there. Thank you for joining us.